If you've been watching our videos for a while, you know that I have talked a lot about my time working in the admissions office for law schools. In my most recent role, I was the Assistant Director for Enrollment Management at the law school that I attended, West Virginia University College of Law. And before that, I worked for another large land-grant institution in Appalachia, the University of Kentucky Law School. So one of the things that I thought it'd be really fun to do today is to talk through some of the things that I saw a lot, the questions that I got asked all the time. Today, we're gonna kind of do like an AMA, only you don't get to ask me the questions, I'm just gonna come up with them. So hopefully you enjoy that. If you're new, my name is Alice Foley, and I am the Director of Pre-Law Programming for S. Montgomery Admissions Consulting, a brand of barrier breakers, a nonprofit that is dedicated to increasing legal education access to students that has been historically underrepresented and under-resourced. Today, we are going to be talking through some of the most common questions that I got while I was still working as an admissions officer. Okay, so the very first one is a huge pet peeve of mine, and I honestly think I heard it more than any other question that I'm going to talk about today. Why should I go to your law school? Y'all, that's a great question that I am not the person that needs to answer. I can tell you the really wonderful things about the school that I work for. I cannot specifically tell you why you need to come to my law school. When I got this question, and it was pretty constant, my answer was always, well, tell me a little bit about what you want to do with your law school career or with your legal education. Once I have that information, I can tell you the things that are important that match with the things that my school can offer. But walking up to my table at a law fair or calling me up or sending an email, although I don't think I ever got it via email, and just straight up, why should I go here? That is a great question, but I am not the person to answer it for you. That's when you need to think through before you talk to me. I would be willing to bet that all of my colleagues have a similar response to this question. We believe in the law schools that we work for. Almost always. I loved the schools that I worked for and could tell you a ton of really amazing things that happen for our students. But if I don't know what's bringing you to law school and I don't know what's important to you, I cannot tell you the things that are relevant. Do I have a 30-second, 2-minute-ish spiel that I can give you about the sort of general basics of my school? Sure. Does my soul die a little bit every time I have to do that because you won't tell me anything about yourself? Don't make my soul die. Tell me about you. If you care at all about the admissions officers that you'll be working with in the future or that you're currently working with, do not ask them this question. We will answer it happily, but inside our hearts will be dying. The next one that I saw a lot and that I heard a lot and then I got it via email a lot. What are my chances? I also occasionally would get it in the form of, well, how much money will I get? Love your confidence. Love that you are just assuming you'll get in. That's a great way to approach the admission cycle. And I know I sound a little sarcastic right now. I'm not joking. Going in with that level of confidence is beautiful. However, I saw this question more often before a student had applied to my law school. So at the point in the conversation where this occurs, I have very little or no information about you as an applicant. I have no idea what your chances are. I have no idea if the information that you are telling me is accurate. Y'all know how LSAT does with undergraduate GPAs. You may think you're doing great and it may be something very different. We hope that doesn't happen, but you get what I'm saying. After you've sent me an application and I can see all of your application materials, I could usually give you a pretty good idea. No guarantees. I'm not the person who is making those decisions by myself. We worked in committee at both of the schools that I worked for, so I can tell you what I think is going to happen, and I can see what I think may be what your scholarships are going to look like, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to be right. That's why most of the time, if you call somebody up at an admissions office and ask them what your chances are or what type of scholarship you're going to get an it depends. Y'all know how much I love the phrase it depends, because that is the answer to literally every question that any student has ever asked me. If you're going to ask this question, do it after you've sent your application in, or preface it and say, hypothetically, this is the type of applicant profile I'm going to present. The next one's a little later on in the cycle. I imagine that if any of you are in the current cycle right now and are waiting for decisions, you're probably thinking this question a lot. You might be asking it to the admissions officers that you've been working with. Do y'all rank the waitlist? At the schools that I work with, the answer is no. Does that mean I can give you a straight answer on what your chances are? Nope. Honestly, even for schools that do rank their waitlist, it's usually very difficult to say, yeah, you'll probably be pulled off. Oftentimes, particularly early in the admission cycle, when those decisions go out, we don't know if we're going to go to the waitlist yet. We don't know what the class looks like yet. And I get it. As someone who was a late admit, I understand how frustrating it is to be sitting here in May without a decision. And admissions offices work as quickly as they can to work through the waitlist if they're going to admit and deny the students that they don't think they'll be able to admit, and cut that waitlist back as small as they possibly can while still protecting their enrollment goals. It's tough. But with the waitlist, it's either wait and be uncertain, or instead of holding on to applicants that we do really like and that we'd love to put in our class if we can find space, we just have to cut. Because over-enrollment is just as scary a thing as under-enrollment. If I say that I'm welcoming you into my class, particularly if I'm welcoming you into my class with scholarship money, I need to be certain that I have a place for you. Talk to any school that has dealt with surprising over-enrollment, and it is cause for concern just as much as not meeting your enrollment goals. So bear with us. Most schools try to give updates when they can, and chances are, when you call and ask, do you rank your waitlist? What are my chances of getting off the waitlist? The answer is very likely, no, we don't rank, and it depends. This next question kind of relates to my first one. And this is something that I saw most often while at a law school fair at an LSAC forum with a lovely table spread of information that had the answer to this question, typically in very bold letters, right in front of your face. What's your median GPA and LSAT? Excellent question. I will tell you what they are. My soul will die a little. If you don't see it, then definitely ask. If you're scanning through the website, most admissions offices make that information easy to find. Just a smidge of research before you call, please. One of the other questions that I saw a lot, and I'm not saying this is wrong, I just think it's very funny. Can I have an application fee waiver? The answer for that is going to change school to school. At the 2 schools that I worked for, fee waivers were very easy to give out. If a school has a form, please fill out the form. Don't just send the email. For the students that ask every school, awesome, love it, keep it up. For the students that are hopefully watching this, the future applicants that have no idea that this is a thing you can ask, please do. Be prepared for them to say no sometimes. Not every school is as free with them as I was, as my schools were. But the worst that happens is you get a, nah, I'm sorry, and you have to pay the fee. If you didn't ask, you're always going to have to pay it. The last one that I want to go through is a little more difficult to answer. And that'll be sort of the end of our like funny ones. I've got some more serious questions coming up because I think those are important to talk through as well. But this is the last one that I used to giggle a lot when I had to answer. And that's why I haven't heard anything yet. And there are a number of reasons for this. So the first one is that your application is incomplete for some reason, and you have either not responded to, not fixed the problem, or ignored the fact that someone in my office, or me, have reached out to say, hey, we're missing this piece of your application, please fix so we can continue with your process. The next reason that you may not be hearing from us is because it's all sitting there in your junk or your spam folder. I do not know why over the course of my entire time working in law school admissions, I hope it's better now, that communications that come from law schools tend to end up in the spam or junk folders, particularly if you are using an Outlook-based mail. I don't know why Outlook is the worst of it. Google is pretty robust. They don't like those spammy emails and they will typically catch them as well. Check your spam or junk. And then make sure that you add whatever email address it comes from, whatever the domain name, however that all works, to your safe senders list so the things stop going to junk. The last one, I don't have anything to update you on because you applied yesterday. With all of that snark, and this is going to be really serious for just a second, every admissions officer that I know will continually answer these questions because I know I'm not the only person that got them a lot. We will continue to answer these things with smiles on our faces because we do this work to help. But I want you all to remember that you are going to be applying to a professional school. As an attorney, you are expected to look things up. You are expected to problem solve. Doing that from the get-go, beautiful. Please do that for me. So we've gone through the fun questions. There are a handful of questions that I saw pretty regularly that are a little more serious. One of the things that I heard most frequently is, I didn't get in. What am I supposed to do now? That's a tough thing, particularly for you future law school applicants. A lot of you have been successful up to this point. School has come easy oftentimes. You are generally go-getters. Like, there's a profile of the person that goes to law school, and it's oftentimes right. So getting a denial is not something that you're used to. It's not a feeling that you have very often. So it hurts, and that's okay. And you can almost always talk to somebody in the admissions office about where you go from there. While these were certainly not my favorite calls to take, I did always feel like I was helping when I had the chance to talk with students that had been denied from our law school. I had a process that I would go through, and I didn't see every student that did this, but the ones that came to me, I always pulled up their application and took a look over it. Chances are it was an application that I didn't get to review just because I didn't see many of them. I saw a ton, but statistically, I didn't see them all. If I saw a particular place that could be strengthened, I would tell them so. The GPA here is looking really low. You'll need to offset that with either a higher LSAT score, some really stellar essays. Maybe another letter of recommendation from a professor would be super helpful. I'm looking at these and you may not have asked the right people. Not every school and not every admissions officer will be that forthcoming, so don't expect that every time, but don't hesitate. If you are truly confused, if you are really looking for advice on where to go after you have been denied from a school that you want to go to, ask. The next one that I heard very often, and again, this is one that I really enjoyed being able to help prospective students with. I've got this fill in the blank, concerning or problematic, or I'm worried about this thing that happened in my past. Whether it's a bad semester, it's a criminal conviction, it's the fact that you're involved in a lawsuit right now. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. Something is giving you concerns about your ability to be admitted that has nothing to do with the actual components-ish of your application. When students would call me and ask those particular questions, or say, will this affect my chances? My first question is always, if you feel comfortable, can you share more details with me? I, as an admissions officer, am never going to drag that information out of you. When you go through particularly character and fitness questions on a law school application, it's kind of like the honor system. At some point in time towards the end of the application, you are going to affirm that the information you have provided is accurate to the best of your knowledge. So, don't lie. It's not a good look. But I don't at any point in time feel like I am entitled to this information. If you have called me up and saying that you are concerned about it, I assume you are willing to give me some kind of information. You can change names. You don't have to give me your name, particularly if you call. Chances are I'm not going to write it down unless you specifically tell me to. I don't need to know your LSAC number or your name for this conversation to happen. The next thing that I want to make sure that you understand, and this is for all of my recent graduates or future undergraduate students that are about to graduate that may have done stupid things when they were young, don't get arrested. Until character and fitness is changed across the board and law schools no longer ask about it, don't get arrested. However, most of the dumb things that students do when they are young include alcohol. If you've got one of those and it only happened once, I promise the likelihood of your decision being changed because of that is so small. Do not panic if you made a bad decision once and you have grown and learned. One of the next ones that was serious, it's pretty simple though, is what do you mean by fill in the application instruction or application question? When I got this question, when students asked me about something in the application, I would explain it. If you don't understand the language in a question, please ask. The last one is kind of related to the I have this thing that's giving me pause. And this is more of a I'm having a this in my life. A family member is sick. My final exams are coming up. Whatever it is coinciding unexpectedly with some deadline, whether that is the application deadline, it's a deposit deadline, it's an event. I don't care what it is. If something comes up in your life that you had not planned on that is affecting your ability to move through the application process, please tell me. I had a lot of students that would call me with these questions, that would email me with this and saying, do I just have to give up? In nearly every case, the answer is no, you do not have to give up. At my schools, we were very lucky to be able to be pretty flexible, particularly with seat deposit deadlines. If we needed to wiggle it a bit to make sure that you had a chance to get a paycheck to come in, to wait for a graduation present or whatever it was, particularly for those seat deposits, we could usually work with you. Not every school is able to do that, but you can't find out if you don't ask. The last one is serious, but also a little funny because of the way that I got to deal with it in all of my roles. The very last question that I heard a lot is, how do I get more money? Scholarship negotiation was not a thing when I applied to law school. That was not something that was done. If I'm being very honest, I think it's a good conversation to have, and I'm glad that it is much, much more widespread now. My answer throughout my entire career as a law school admissions officer was, I'll be happy to connect you to somebody else in my office. Usually it was my boss, because I didn't handle scholarship negotiation. However, I'm not going to leave you hanging with just that. If you are starting to approach the scholarship negotiation, scholarship reevaluation process, make sure you have a real reason for asking. You're not just asking to ask. Make sure that you're coming in with a good reason and you're coming in with good information. So I covered a lot, kind of spanned the whole range of the admissions process, I think. If you have additional questions, you can leave them in the comments. We'll help where we can. I hope this is helpful. If anything, I really hope that I'm putting out into the world things that will help my colleagues, my former colleagues. If this was helpful, like and subscribe. I talked about a couple of other videos that we've got on our channel. Those should be somewhere you can find them easily. If you think this will help a friend that's going through the law school application process, please share it. Talk to you guys soon.